Access to Democracy is made possible by donations from the following organizations. Thomson-Reuters, a global company with expertise and insight to unravel complex situations in the areas of law, tax, compliance, government, and media. Their worldwide network of journalists and editors keep customers up to speed on relevant global events. Thomson-Reuters, the answer company. The division championship Minnesota Twins are looking to go all the way to the World Series in 2024. Bolstered by inspirational shortstop Carlos Correa, a healthy Brian Buxton, and rookie phenom Royce Lewis, plus a pitching staff led by Pablo Lopez and an outstanding bullpen featuring Johan Duran, the Twins are the best bargain in the major leagues, and Target Field is the best venue in baseball. Sheridan Dulas & Kins, PA, a family and criminal defense law firm, has been serving clients in Dakota County and throughout Minnesota for over 40 years. Ranked a Tier 1 Best Law Firm by U.S. News and World Report every year since 2009, Sheridan Dulas & Kins are here to help you in your most difficult life circumstances. Established in 2007, 45th Parallel Spirits was among the first 50 micro-distilleries in the United States. Based in New Richmond, Wisconsin, all aspects of production occur at our facility. If you're interested in visiting and learning more about the 45th Parallel Distillery, please check our website and plan a visit to tour our facility and taste our spirits. Truestone Financial, with locations in Minnesota and Wisconsin, has proudly served its members since 1939. Truestone engages, educates, and supports its members to ensure they have the tools to empower their financial well-being. Truestone Financial, your neighborhood credit union. Learn more at truestone.org.
Hello and welcome to Access to Democracy. Thank you for joining us. I'm Bill Raker, your host for this edition of the program. We have something a little unusual for you today. Our guest is the honored and distinguished Alan Miller, who, as many of you know, is the founder of this program, Access to Democracy, and a couple of spin-offs, Behind the Game and Writer's Corner. Now, Alan has often been the host of this program, and he's sometimes been a guest on the program with a guest host. But this program today is a little bit different. So I was looking for how to title this. You know, back in the 50s and 60s, there were a couple of TV programs. One was called What's My Line, when guests came on and the panel tried to figure out what their line of work was. And then there was one called This Is Your Life, where they'd bring the guest on and reveal all sorts of things about the guest's life. And this is kind of what we're doing today for Alan Miller, but I'd like to title this The Man, the Myth, and the Legend. Now, that's the theme that we used when we celebrated Alan's 90th birthday some months ago. And I think that pretty well encapsulates what this program is going to be about. So Alan and I first met, 20-some years ago, 1999, 2000.
26 years ago.
Alan and his wife, Sharon, had just moved from New York here to Minnesota to join the works at what was West Law, is now Thomson-Reuters. And I had just moved from California to take on the CEO role of U.S. Federal Credit Union. And Alan and I, living in Eagan, had, unbeknownst to each other, applied to be on a city commission here in Eagan, the Burnsville-Eagan Joint Telecommunications Commission is what it was called, but it's no longer in existence. That's where we met.
We killed it.
Yeah, it went away. The commission went away as Alan and I served on it. But we became acquainted, and Alan had a project in mind. He had a vision, and that vision was this program, Access to Democracy. And Alan brought some experience and some talent and skills that he had with him that he had honed in New York in various roles, and we'll talk a little bit about those as well. And so he was wanting to get the program started, and as it turns out, I was, as the CEO of U.S. Federal Credit Union, the first or second sponsor to provide some financial support to get this program off and started. And that was over 25 years ago. So now we want to talk a little bit about Alan to kind of get some of the highlights of his life and see how he feels about some of the accomplishments and awards and things that he has won throughout his life. So Alan, you're an author, you're a TV host, you're a radio host, you're an educator, you've been a war correspondent, I guess we could call it. You've been a columnist for newspapers. Of all of these different careers, which one are you proudest of?
That's an interesting question. Probably, I would have to say, becoming a novelist in my mid-'80s would have to be up there. But the fact that this program, Access to Democracy, started as a one-time interview, and has gone on to really become what it is, would have to be up there also with it.
Well, few people have the opportunity and the ambition and the commitment to do either one of those things that you just described. To become a novelist, you've published 3 novels and 2 nonfiction books during the course of your writing career. Tell us a little bit about each one of those, if you would.
Well, the nonfiction books, actually the first one came out of this program after 10 years. You Can Do It. It was sort of a self-help book for others who wanted to start local access TV. And it had that effect. It spawned other cities doing what Eagan was doing. Fortunately, Eagan, a progressive city, really had the wherewithal and the ambition to turn this show into what it is. The novels came because I just had on my bucket list at 85 that I really want to have at least a novel before I kick off.
Well, you're not about to kick off, so.
Well, based on recent medical aggravation, I'm not so sure of that. But in any event, the novel was successful, and the publishers wanted a second, and then they thought about a series. So then there was a third, and who knows, maybe there'll be a fourth.
Yeah, maybe there's a 4th one in the works. Still being percolated in your thought processes.
It's changed several times, but yeah.
So I mentioned that you had been an educator. What roles did you have in the education world?
Well, that's funny because when I was practicing law back in New York, I had several opportunities. One was to teach criminal law and criminal procedure to police officers. One was to teach a course in community college. Then I had the chance to teach trial law to lawyers, to law students. And I did probably 6 years of that as an adjunct to my practice of law. So it's been something, I could never find anything where I was able to stay with something. So I've jumped around all over the place.
Well, you left your mark, your imprint in several different places by doing that. You taught screenwriting for a while, didn't you?
I taught screenwriting for 6 years. No, for more than 6 years. I taught a Holocaust course for 6 years at Inver Hills. I taught screenwriting closer to 18 years at Minneapolis College.
See, very few people get the opportunity in their lives to do some of the things that you just talked about that you've done. And then there was one that I find really interesting, is that you were, and I called you a war correspondent because I think you went overseas to cover a war that was going on at sometime in the past. So tell us a little bit about that.
I was writing a weekly newspaper column, and on Long Island, in the 5 towns, and the Persian Gulf War broke out, Operation Desert Storm. And having grown up and seen relatives go off to war in World War II and things like that, I thought, what a great opportunity for me to go to the Middle East and cover this war. So I went to my editor at the newspaper and I said, will you sponsor me going over there? And she didn't hesitate before she said no. So there was a competition newspaper in town, and I went to them and I said, you know, I have no contract with the South Shore Record. Will you sponsor me? And they said, well, let's think about it. And I went back to her and I told her that the competition was thinking of it, and immediately I was on my way, and 3 days after I got my credentials.
Well, I forgot to mention you are an influencer and a negotiator. So Alan, it's 1991. And you've just convinced your newspaper editor, where you were a columnist, that you wanted to go to the Middle East to cover this war. Tell us a little bit about that experience. What's that like?
Well, it was very, very exciting. Probably the most exciting event, a singular event. I was over there for 2 weeks. I was over there for all of Desert Storm. I flew over after I had my credentials, which only took 1 day to have, verified by the Israeli authorities. And I had visited Israel a couple of times previously, so when they were attacked, it was kind of personal for me. And I went over on an El Al flight. There were a lot of young Americans on the flight that had T-shirts on that said Israel IFD. And I noticed that they had Southern accents, which didn't seem to correspond with the T-shirts. And I found out that they were an advanced Patriot missile crew on their way over to train Israelis in how to use the Patriot missile. Fortunately, one of my college fraternity brothers was a publisher in Israel. So when I got over there, he opened the door for me to places that I could have never gotten to otherwise. And I sent back an article every day, and it was just an incredible experience.
It sounds like it was, and something you'll always remember.
Absolutely.
And be able to reminisce about. So another career that you've had was with West Law, or as known now as Thomson-Reuters. You were an editor of law books and law journals and other publications. Tell us what that career involved.
Well, that also was one of these things that just happened. And my life has been many things that just happened. But an editor left. They were writing a book called Family Law Guide for the Reader's Digest. And an editor who had been assigned to work on it for 2 years left with 4 months to go before publication, and they found out that she had not been doing what she was supposed to be doing. And all this research in this book had to be brought up to date. Well, a lot of my law practice had been research and appellate work. So it just dovetailed into my life. And I did a lot of research and brought that book up to date, and it came out on time 4 months later. Not what I would say the best possible way. but the fastest possible way, and it was accurate. And that contract left West, so then I just became what they call the principal attorney editor, and worked on a lot of different things and a lot of special projects, some of which had great significance for what became Thomson-Reuters. And we actually won a couple of Emmy Awards for that work.
So a big part of your career has been in law. You want to put in a plug for your law school? Where did you get your Juris degree?
Undergraduate and law, Syracuse, which is prominent in my novels also. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of the most fun days of my life were in Syracuse, particularly undergraduate school.
What prompted you to take an interest in law and say, this is something I want to put a big part of my life into?
Well, my mother always envisioned me becoming a doctor. We have a family full of doctors. We had probably 5 or 6 that I can think of who were doctors. I've never been big on seeing blood, my own or anybody else's. And I always was interested in current events and what's going on in the world. I still am. As our democracy dies, as I'm sitting here. And it just was a natural gravitation to law. So I went through undergraduate school at Syracuse, law school, not with honors or anything else, but I got through, passed the New York bar exam on the first shot.
Not everybody does that.
And not in those days, not everybody did that. I had 2 roommates, and the funny thing is the dean had said on the day we started law school, look to your left and look to your right, because only one of the 3 of you is going to make it. And sure enough,
it was you.
I was in the middle, fortunately.
So you mentioned that maybe there's a 4th novel in the works. So let's assume maybe that there is, and that could be a part of your bucket list. Is there anything else on your bucket list that still has your attention?
Well, current events. I'm really, really frustrated and aggravated with what's happening in this country right now. And as a matter of fact, to the degree that it's really impeded my writing to some degree, because it's so frustrating with the turn that this nation has taken since the election of 2024.
What do you see the outcome of some of this, some of the things that are going on in our country today?
I think that if people don't wake up and have their voices heard and become activists and get out there, that they're not going to have a democracy to fall back on. That, we have been the beacon in the world for 250 plus years, 270 years. And there's a reason why people want to come to America. And yes, we have flaws, but no, there is no other country like it. And even the thought that it's impeded is so aggravating to me that I have trouble dealing with it.
Well, let's all hope, and not just hope, but let's work to get past this situation that we have, and then think about the things that you might like to do when you're not so preoccupied and frustrated with what's going on in government.
I mean, you see me wearing all black today. It's February 28th. This is actually Elon Musk protest day. And one of the things that we were asked to do, those of us who have been involved in that, is to protest by wearing his black type uniform. And so here I am in black.
Well, you look good in black, I'll tell you that. Well, Alan, because of the things that you've shared with us in your life, the accomplishments that you've had, the experiences that you've endured, the contributions that you've made to education, to law, to public affairs, like this TV program, Access to Democracy, that's now on 35, 36 stations around the state of Minnesota. It's on YouTube, it's on its own website, Access to Democracy. Because of those things and many more things that you've done that we don't have the time to talk about, I'm excited to present to you today a commission as Colonel in the Honorable Order of Kentucky Colonels. So if you bear with me.
That is a complete surprise.
Well, was one of the special things about today's program. So this we're going to celebrate here with you, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Honorable Order of Kentucky Colonels, and for our viewers as well.
That is a high honor, and I am familiar with it. But this is a complete and total surprise.
So here's the commission certification, Alan. It says, from the Commonwealth of Kentucky, Andy Brashear, the governor, to all to whom these presents shall come, greetings, know ye that Honorable Alan Miller is commissioned a Kentucky colonel. I hereby confer this honor with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereto appertaining. And it's signed by the governor of Kentucky. So congratulations.
A good man, by the way.
Congratulations, Colonel Miller.
Thank you, thank you. I am overwhelmed, and I'm not often overwhelmed.
Well, it's quite an honor to be commissioned a Kentucky colonel. And I want to share with you and with our viewers a little bit about that organization. The Honorable Order of Kentucky Colonels was established in 1933. Kentucky colonels do not have to come from Kentucky or live in Kentucky to receive this commission. The commission recognizes and honors individuals for their good works, regardless of their locations. Colonels are located in all 50 states and 74 foreign countries. There are some 100 colonels of us here in Minnesota. I was commissioned a colonel back in 1979. And you are the first one I've had the opportunity to recommend a commission for to the governor.
I was going to say, I have a feeling that you were somehow involved in this.
So Kentucky colonels support nonprofit organizations by actively engaging colonels, fostering strong relationships, maintaining high grant vending standards, and being good stewards of our resources and traditions, all with integrity and compassion. Now, receiving the commission, Alan, the honor of commissioning isn't given out freely to just anyone. A commission is granted by the governor of Kentucky to only those select individuals who are deemed to have exhibited exceptionally noteworthy accomplishments, outstanding service to a community, a state, or the nation. This process does require a nomination from another active colonel, which was myself. The primary factor considered in nominees' work, business contributions, and other notable achievements. And anyone who receives a commission from the governor automatically becomes an honorary Kentucky colonel for life. So I want you to know, Alan, and our viewers as well, that the Kentucky colonel is the highest title of honor bestowed by the Commonwealth of Kentucky. It is the most known colonelcy in the United States and the most respected and mentioned. And you're joining some wonderful ranks who are already Kentucky colonels. And I'll share a few of those names with you. Warren Buffett, Walt Disney, Roy Rogers, Ty Cobb, Tiger Woods, Teddy Roosevelt, Igor Stravinsky, Jimmy Carter, Queen Elizabeth II, Winston Churchill, Bob Hope, Lyndon B. Johnson, Bill Clinton, Arthur Ashe, Darryl Strawberry, and the late Gene Hackman. And now it's Colonel Alan Miller.
Well, I think I just took the prestige level down several notches, but as I said, I am overwhelmed. It's not often that I am virtually speechless, but
Well,
I consider
it is
this
a requirement that you give an acceptance speech.
Pardon?
It's a requirement that you give an acceptance speech.
Well, Kentucky has always been near and dear to my heart. I've thought of it as my old Kentucky home. It's one of the few places where I have never lived, but interestingly enough, I have written about. And this carries with it certain obligations, and I certainly hope that I can live up to the obligations of this really terrific honor. And as I said, I am overwhelmed.
Well, it's certainly deserving, because you highlighted a few of the things that you've accomplished in your life as we chatted earlier in the program. And it's a delight for me to welcome you into the Honorable Order of Kentucky Colonels. There are 47 chapters of colonels around the world, and I just got one organized here in Minnesota about 3 weeks ago. And it's called the North Star Chapter of the Honorable Order of Kentucky Colonels. And I'm delighted to welcome you into this chapter.
Well, I thank you. I thank you again. And I certainly will try to live up to the honor and the obligations of being a Kentucky Colonel.
And feel free to use the title. I will refer to you now as Colonel Miller.
And
well, Alan, you've done great service for your community, for the state, for multiple states and communities. Your work that you did in New York, as well as what you've done while you've been here in Minnesota. And it's very appropriate that you be recognized and honored for those things that you've done. And we hope that you continue to make contributions and to be involved and to be engaged and to offer, you know, an example of leadership, an icon to other people about if you have the will and you have the determination, the inspiration, and you have a vision, go for it. Let nothing stand in your way.
I have to say that you don't acquire something like this, the honor and the title, by yourself. And frankly, if it wasn't for the companionship and the abuse that I've suffered at the hands of my wife, Sharon, I would never be able to accept this honor. But she has been with me steadfastly, and she has been inspirational. Without her, I wouldn't be sitting here with this today.
Well, it's a tribute to Colonel and Mrs. Miller that you have been commissioned to this honorable order. Thank you all for watching Access to Democracy. Thank you for celebrating with me and congratulating Alan Miller on his commission to the Colonel title of the Honorable Order of Kentucky Colonels.
Thank you, Bill.